You have felt it. The urge to fill a silence the instant it starts, to explain, to reassure, to make sure no one reads the pause the wrong way. Most people treat that urge as basic manners, just being considerate of the room. But that is a coping mechanism, proof that silence unsettles you more than it unsettles anyone actually watching you. What you feel is discomfort with a weapon you have never learned to hold, engineered restraint, engineered leverage, engineered control you keep handing away for free. Today we take that weapon apart. This is the unread man, the principle that the less a room can predict about you, the more power you hold inside it. The unread man is not quiet because he has nothing to say. He is quiet because he has learned what speech costs, and he stopped paying the price for words that buy him nothing. Psychology explains why most men never reach this. The spotlight effect causes them to wildly overestimate how closely others are tracking their words. So they narrate themselves constantly, certain the room is taking notes it was never actually taking. In reality, most rooms forget what a man said within the hour. What they remember instead is the shape of him, steady, unreadable, or transparent and easy to predict. The unread man runs a simple filter before speaking in any room that matters. Does this sentence give something away, or does it simply fill air? If it only fills air, he keeps it. If it reveals something that was not already known, he measures the cost before he spends it. Most men have never applied this filter once. They open their mouths before the question forms, and the room reads them before they finish the sentence. The average man explains himself to anyone who asks. The strategist stays unread by everyone who watches. But a man who reveals nothing still has to survive, not knowing what others know, which brings us to the second law. This is information starvation. The law that the man who talks least in a negotiation learns the most, because every word the other side speaks to fill the silence is a word they did not have to give away. Economists call this information asymmetry. In any exchange, the party who discloses less accumulates a structural advantage. That advantage compounds every time the exchange repeats. Most men treat a negotiation as a single event. It is rarely single. It is a relationship that will demand the same posture again, and the man who leaked his reasoning in the first round has already given his opponent the map to every round that follows. The principle extends far beyond formal negotiation. Every meeting, every conversation where something is at stake, every room where another man is measuring you. These are all exchanges. In each one, the man who waits collects while the man who fills the silence spends. He practices this directly, in low-stakes conversations first, asking one question, then waiting, refusing to rescue the silence that follows it, even when it grows uncomfortable, and noting afterward how much the other person volunteered without being asked twice. The discomfort is the point. A man who cannot sit inside an uncomfortable silence will break every time the leverage matters. He practices silence until the discomfort stops being a signal to speak and becomes a signal to wait longer. The average man rushes to fill a pause with reassurance. The predator lets the pause do the interrogating for him. But starving a room of information is worthless if a man cannot hold his composure inside the silence he creates. Which brings us to the third law. This is the Composure Tax, the price every man pays to keep a still face while everything underneath is moving. Suppressing a visible reaction consumes real mental resources. This is cognitive load. The untrained man leaks his emotions under pressure because he runs out of capacity to hide them the longer the pressure holds. The trained man is not calmer inside. He has built more capacity, the way a heavier lift becomes routine, only after enough repetition under it. Composure is not a character trait. It is a trained ceiling, and like all ceilings it rises only when pressure is applied deliberately, not avoided. He trains this like a muscle, deliberately sitting through mildly provoking moments this week. A rude comment, a delay, a minor insult, without letting his face report anything to the room. What the room sees is a man who is either unbothered or impossible to read. Both interpretations serve him. The man who flinches gives the room a target. The man who does not gives the room a wall. There is a second layer to this tax that most men ignore: composure under sustained pressure. Anyone can hold a still face for 30 seconds. The test is the third minute, the fifth minute, the long pause after an accusation that lands close to something real. That is where the untrained man breaks, because he has never practiced holding past the point of comfort. He practices past that point deliberately this week, in low-stakes situations, until holding composure past comfort becomes the default rather than the exception. The average man pays the composure tax in public, wincing, sighing, narrating his own irritation. The king pays it in private and shows the room nothing. But composure under provocation is only half the equation. What a man does with a provocation after is the other half, which brings us to the fourth law. This is reactive versus sovereign. The law that a reactive man is governed by whoever provokes him last, while a sovereign man is governed only by his own standard. Locus of control draws the line precisely here. A man who believes his responses originate inside himself is not describing a personality trait. He is describing a structural advantage no provocateur can reach, because there is nothing external left for the provocateur to pull. Every insult is an attempt to install a trigger. A reactive man accepts the installation without noticing. He does not realize he has handed over the controls until he is already 3 sentences into a response he did not choose. The provocateur's skill is not strength, it is timing, catching the reactive man before his own judgment engages, using the gap between stimulus and response to drive the outcome. A sovereign man closes that gap by making the pause non-negotiable. He installs a specific counter this week before responding to any provocation in a meeting, a message, or a conversation that matters. He waits the length of one full breath before a single word leaves him. No exceptions. Regardless of how minor the provocation feels in the moment. That single breath is not hesitation. It is the moment the response transfers from the provocateur's control back to his own. One breath every time until it becomes the automatic behavior instead of the reactive one. Then 2 breaths. Then a full 10 seconds. The man who can sit inside 10 seconds of silence after a provocation, in a room full of people watching him, and still respond from his own judgment rather than his own irritation, that man cannot be reliably triggered. And a man who cannot be reliably triggered cannot be reliably controlled. The average man responds at the speed of the insult. The strategist responds at the speed of his own judgment. But sovereignty over your own reactions means nothing if you cannot recognize when withholding a reaction is itself the loudest move available, which brings us to the final law. This is the loudest silence. The recognition that the absence of a response is itself a signal, often a more devastating one than any words could deliver. Game theory names the mechanism directly. In repeated exchanges, the player who introduces unpredictability into his responses forces every other player to revise their models of him constantly. The man who sometimes answers and sometimes does not is structurally harder to read than the man who always answers and always explains. Silence, deployed deliberately and held past the expected breaking point, is not passivity. It is a move, and it is one most men have never made, because the discomfort of holding it is greater than the discomfort of filling it. He identifies, this week, one situation where the disciplined move is not a sharper reply but no reply at all, and he holds that silence past the point of comfort, past the point where the room expects him to break it. Not because he has nothing to say, because he has decided the silence says it better. Most men mistake silence for surrender, because they have never held it long enough to feel it turn into pressure on the other side. The silence does not feel like surrender from inside it. once a man has held it past the threshold. It feels like a door that will not open, and the other side is the one standing in the cold. The man who speaks to fill the silence has just confirmed he needed the exchange to end. The man who holds it has confirmed he does not. He controls nothing more than that. But in a room full of men trying to read each other, that control is everything. The average man believes silence means he has lost the exchange. The emperor understands that silence, held long enough, ends it. Drop the instinct to explain yourself to a room that has not earned the explanation. Define the one sentence you will not give away this week. Adopt the pause before every reaction that used to be automatic. Build a face that reports nothing under provocation. Start letting silence do the interrogating instead of your questions. Refuse to lose an exchange by being the man who spoke first. Become unreadable.